Hi, this is Ryan Neal from the USA offices of Neal Saddlery and Harness, Cowboy Sewing Machines, and Hi-Tech Sewing Machines. And today we're going to do a demonstrational video on our model 733. This machine is an ideal machine for sewing extremely heavy-duty webbing, things like heavy-duty cargo slings, lifting slings, lashing slings, and so forth. This machine is capable of sewing up to 8 to 10 layers of 8,000 to 10,000 pound break strength nylon webbing. So you can see how heavy just one individual layer of this nylon webbing is. And we've got 8 layers of this all stacked up here underneath the machine ready to sew. It's got up to a 32 millimeter presser foot lift, which is a little bit over 1.25 inches. So this machine is capable of sewing close to or at 1.25 inches thick. It's also capable of using some of the heaviest weight threads that are available in the industry today, including up to the 600 range series in thread. It can also use 554 thread very easily, as well as 415. To give you an idea of the size of this thing, this is the shuttle hook that fits into the machine. You can see it's actually larger than the palm of my hand. And the bobbin that fits inside the machine is the largest commercially available bobbin for industrial sewing machines today. The other added advantage that we have on our Hi-Tech model 733 is we actually place a inside round post inside the bobbin case, which is atypical of machines of this type. Most of these machines do not have a post in the center. And the advantage of that is, number one, it stabilizes the bobbin so the thread comes off easier with less tangling. The second advantage is you can use factory pre-wound bobbins for this machine because we already have the post pre-installed. Most of the older hooks in machines like the 7 class, as well as some other machines in this class, the 733 class, did not have that center post in the bobbin, which means it was very difficult to run factory pre-wound bobbins. So we do have that center post in there, and again the post acts like a stabilizer, so the thread unspools from the bobbin much more easily. So that's an added advantage. Now we have this machine set up with an entire pneumatic system. And so you can order this either way, with the pneumatic system or without the pneumatic system. The advantage of the pneumatic system is it automates certain processes on the sewing machine to make it easier to sew. For instance, we have the automatic presser foot lifter function, which is activated by this button or simply by pushing on the back side of the pedal, pushing on the heel side of the pedal, you can activate the presser foot lifter function. In addition, we also have a reverse function, which is activated either by pressing this button on the control panel or by hitting this knee pad lever on the side of the sewing machine. And it does feature, of course, fully adjustable stitch lengths. This machine is also capable of producing one of the longest stitches in the industry, somewhere at or over approximately a 1/2 inch stitch length, which is very advantageous when you're trying to sew extremely heavy layers of webbing. So we're going to go ahead and, I also forgot to mention one thing. We do have, with the deluxe package, we do have a needle cooler set up, and that's activated by pressing this button on the control module here, and then it activates the needle cooler function on the machine. If you're sewing through webbing that's extremely fast, or you're sewing through webbing extremely fast, it helps to have that needle cooler function as well. So I'm going to go ahead and give this a whirl so you guys can see what this machine is capable of doing. Now, I'm a big guy, so you have to remember I'm probably not fit. This stand doesn't fit me real well, but I'm sure if there were smaller operators, there wouldn't be a problem, but I'm about 6'3", so I'm a pretty good sized guy. So we'll go ahead and push down on the pedal and see what this thing can do. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and allow my needle to go all the way down in the material. I'm going to lift up my presser foot. I'm going to go ahead and turn this material 90 degrees, set my foot back down and continue sewing. So there we are at the end of the work. I'm going to go ahead and flip again 90 degrees, set my foot back down. I'm just going to snip this thread off right here. Go ahead and, you can also lift the presser foot by hand if you'd like, but I prefer to use the automation. we got our thread hung up behind our thread stand here. And then I'm just going to finish off the stitch. And that should have been a 360-degree rotation around the perimeter of the piece. So now I'm going to trim my threads, and I want you guys to take a look at how nice the stitching is on this work. So if you look here, you can see that the stitching is very even, very evenly spaced. You can see how large the stitching is. And again, this is through 8 layers of heavy-duty webbing. You can see on the back side the stitch looks extremely good down the periphery. Now remember, when you're sewing cross grain on nylon webbing, the stitch is more obvious. When you're sewing with the grain, the stitch gets compressed down into the material. So, and this was where we overlapped on the stitch over here on the back side, where we overlapped when we came back around to complete the square. So, and this is hard as a rock. I mean, you can hardly move this material because it's been compressed together. So for instance, if you were doing a W pattern across this, or if you were doing a box X pattern, that would even make it more bend resistant. So this machine has an extreme ability to compress the layers of material together after sewing. So anyhow, that's a brief little video on our 733 model. If you have any additional questions about this machine, please feel free to contact me directly. My name is Ryan Neal from the USA offices of Neal's Saddlery and Harness, Cowboy Sewing Machines, and High-Tech Sewing Machines. I can be reached at area code 330-692-1418, and I do thank you for your time today.